You're now ready to take your Week 8 Pre-AP Science weekly quiz. Question number 1. Increasing which of the following will result in an increase in competition among members of a population of a species living in the same habitat? The first choice, size of habitat. Second, population density. Third, rate of disease. Fourth, food supply. Which one of these would have a negative effect and would cause more competition between the organisms? Pause the recording at this point and select your answer. Question number 2. Penguins are able to survive the extremely harsh winters in the icy lands of Antarctica, and they do so by huddling together in tightly packed groups. They do this because they're depending on each other to meet their need for a certain nutritional requirement, quantity of fresh water, range of temperature, duration of sunlight. Huddling together would cause the biggest benefit by which of these choices? Pause and select your answer. Number 3. The aggressive South American cane toad was introduced to Australia by humans. Information about the cane toad is provided in the table. Based on the table, native organisms will be negatively affected by competition with cane toads if they have a length of 10 to 15 centimeters, defensive mechanism, which is a toxic skin, which would make them poison to animals trying to eat them, have a habitat where they live in dry land, they have a life expectancy of 10 to 15 years, their diet is small birds, invertebrates, reptiles, and rodents. Now the question is, native organisms, that means animals that are already there in Australia, will be negatively affected by competition because of which one of these factors is going to cause the most competition? Hunt from the air, live in the water, are longer than 15 centimeters, or eat reptiles. Pause and select your answer. Number 4. Which statement below is an example of organisms providing resources in an ecosystem that others depend on? Trees going towards sunlight in the forest, earthworms enriching and aerating soil, baboons stealing each other's food, lizards fighting for the warmest rock. Which one of these is an organism providing a resource for other animals or plants? Pause and select your answer. Number 5. Trees in a temperate deciduous forest complete all of the following except. So which one of these are trees not competing for? Sunlight, soil, shelter, or water? At this point, you want to select your answer, and if you're not sure about anything in questions 1 through 5, go ahead and click the back button and go back and check your work. If you're satisfied with your answers, then click the next button and you're ready to move on to the second section of the test. Now pause the recording and decide how you want to proceed. You're now beginning the second section, and these are release star questions. Number 6. Hogs introduced to Texas from Europe became feral or wild after the hogs escaped from the ranches where they lived. Feral hogs are omnivores that feed on native plants, crops, and small animals. They can damage an ecosystem by rooting through the soil. In 2018, it was estimated they caused $2.5 billion of damage to sorghum, which is a grain crop, in 39 states. Your question is, which of the native organisms do feral hogs most likely compete with? Are they competing with carnivores and producers, herbivores and carnivores, producers and decomposers, decomposers and herbivores? Think about the organisms that they are eating, and that will help you figure out your answer. Pause and make your answer. Number 7. Giant Salvinia is an aquatic plant that floats on water and reproduces rapidly. When these plants die, decomposition by bacteria affects the oxygen levels in the water. As more plants die, less oxygen is available for water. Students observe a pond covered by giant Salvinia. Which statement is the best prediction the students can make about the immediate future of the pond? The depth of the water in the pond will increase. The number of different types of plants around the pond will increase. The amount of bacteria in the pond will suddenly decrease. Fish populations in the pond will begin to decrease. What will be affected the most by losing the amount of oxygen in the water? Pause the recording and select your answer. Number 8. Plants grow in many different shapes and sizes. Much of their shape depends on an internal structure that is composed of carbon-containing molecules called cellulose and lignin. Plants that have a strong internal structure can grow larger than other plants because their structure can support their size. So what you're looking at now is a cross-section of a plant that shows you this strong cell wall that's going to be containing those carbon structures. Plants obtain the majority of the carbon necessary for building these structural molecules from, and the hint is, if it's entering the plant through the stoma. Is it air, microorganisms, soil, or water? Which one of these enters the plant through the stoma that gives them a supply of carbon? Pause and select your answer. Question number 9. A group of scientists studied some trees in a pine forest. In the densely forested areas, the trees were within 1 meter from each other. The scientists observed that these trees had dead branches near the ground. The graph below summarizes the data. So let's look at the graph. On this part of the graph, we're looking at trees in the dense forest where they're packed closely together. And it's telling us how many live branches there are. If it's a short tree, there were live branches between 1 meter and 3 meters. If it was a medium tree, they were between 5 and 9 meters. If it was a tall tree, the living branches were only between 9 and 15 meters. Now, if it was a tall tree out in an open meadow where there's not a lot of trees around it, it had live branches all the way from 1 meter all the way up to 15 meters. So let's look at our question. Which inference is best supported by this data? Pine trees in a dense forest can grow taller than pine trees in an open meadow. Pine trees in a dense forest compete for sunlight with the surrounding trees. Pine trees in a dense forest are part of a less complex food web than pine trees in an open forest. Pine trees in a dense forest have more living branches than pine trees in an open meadow. So go back and look at your data and find the one statement that fits the graph. Pause now and select your answer. Question 10. The strangler fig is a vine that starts out as a seed in the tree's canopy, or upper portion of the tree in the rainforest. It drops its roots down from the canopy to the forest floor. So if you look, what looks like vines coming down, these are actually the roots that have come all the way from the treetops, coming all the way down to go to the ground for support. By sprouting in the rainforest canopy, the strangler fig seedlings is exposed to more soil, nutrients, sun, consumers. Now we're talking about sprouting up in the canopy. So think about what would be up in the canopy in the upper portions of the rainforest. You want to select your answer, and then at this point, you can go back and check your previous responses, or if you're satisfied with your responses, click submit, and then you'll be able to see your score for this quiz.